was a managing director. It all changed really when I had a baby, and I suffered with postnatal depression, which in the end culminated with me having pneumonia, which was life-threatening.
Don't you think that sometimes when leaders add more human-centric values in the system, people start taking them for granted?
Yeah, so I think for me there's a performance management issue there, and I'm not saying you let people get away with whatever.
So let's talk about burnout. And why is it romanticized in high-achieving environments?
It wasn't until I really stepped out of it that I realised like how bad I was in it. And I don't want other people to get to that stage where, you know, you have to have this like near-death experience before you're like, oh no,
Yeah.
like now I need to start looking after myself. I'm always surprised at how little people know about the value of diversity. But we've been so conditioned to like be quiet, be a good girl, you know, get on with it, keep your head down, like, oh, don't start a conflict, you know, when actually all of these things are so normal. I think like men are, they're going to be the catalyst for the change that we need because there's not enough of us at the top.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Her Talks, a podcast by Women First Jobs. So we brought another wonderful guest today on the show, and let's all welcome Marisa Kamall from GAIA. Hi Marisa, how are you today?
Thank you. I'm very well, thank you. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much, and welcome to our show. So, Marisa, I want to know that you led almost a team of more than 1,000 people and managed multi-million, billion-dollar companies for the P&L and everything. But your biggest transformation came after you stepping away. Or what made you walk away from it all?
Thank you so much. Well, firstly, thank you for having me. I'm honoured to be here and appreciate the time and for people listening. Oh, what made me walk away? So, yeah, I don't want you to feel sorry for me when I go through this process because I actually believe now that these events had to happen like this for me to, I guess, see the light and align to what I should be doing. So yeah, I worked for a big FTSE 100 bank here. I was a managing director, and it all changed really when I had a baby, which, you know, is quite challenging in itself. And I suffered with postnatal depression, which in the end culminated with me having pneumonia, which was life-threatening in hospital. And I look back now and just reflect that really that was because I wasn't taking care of myself and didn't deal with the postnatal depression. And then it manifested itself in my body. And then a few weeks later, the company that I worked for had a conversation with me about downgrading my role from a managing director to a director with no real kind of backing as to why. And those three things as a collective just made me think, is this a company that I want to work for? Is it aligned to my values? And am I guess, doing enough in the world to stop this from happening to other people? Because the world just isn't fair from a gender perspective.
Okay, so you believe that that whole circumstances, that whole scenario which happened, those were the moments which really helped you or maybe pushed you to think about the leadership.
Absolutely, yeah. So it was the culmination of those events just made me think, do I want to go back and work for a company that does this? And then how many other companies are like this? And why are women so disadvantaged in the workplace? So I just started looking into it kind of more and more. And honestly, before I had my daughter Paloma, I hadn't really reflected on like how hard it is for mums and parents, but really mums who carry, I guess, more of the mental load at home to continue as normal in the office. In the current structures and workplaces that exist right now, in the majority, that's really difficult. So I was like, it was similar to you, I need to do something to help women and advance the cause.
No, but what you're doing is really amazing, actually.
Thank you.
So what are the top 3 leadership patterns or mindset women often need to unlearn when stepping into power?
Yeah, so there's a few things, and I think hopefully this resonates with most people that listen. It was what comes up in the Gaia community a lot, but one of the biggest things is over explaining and apologizing, saying sorry before we speak. I think, even though you've got something to say and you stand by that, and it makes sense within that meeting. I think sometimes we say like, oh, sorry, can I just add, or sorry this. And that became really obvious to me actually when I worked in Brazil, because I said sorry all the time. And in Brazilian culture, they don't do that at all, It's quite assertive and direct, men and women. And people were like, what are you apologizing for? Like apologizing for existing, And that for me just reset that expectation. But yeah, over apologizing is one. The second one I would say is the equation of toughness with respect. So, we're used to seeing like this masculine style of leadership, and that therefore I think sometimes it's natural that we follow those as role models. But really what this is all about is like bringing that softness and a natural style that women might bring or not, into their leadership. So just letting go of that. And the last thing is thinking that you need to do it by yourself, because you absolutely don't. There's a whole like crew and tribe of people that want to help you succeed. You just need to open up to it and not feel like you have to carry on your own. And the biggest thing within Gaia, what I found, is just that safe space to share and connect is what is really powerful. So I would encourage anyone to find that like community and tribe. It can be in the office, it can be out, it can be a different group, but that for me is real game changer as well.
Okay, and that's wonderful, I think. And those are really very relevant and apt advices which you have given.
Thank
So,
you.
what makes the current leadership model outdated, according to you? And what are the non negotiables in building one that's more human and equitable?
Yeah, so I think human centricity is absolutely everything, and central to the work that needs to happen, in organizations to make it more equitable. But one of the key things is just psychological safety, which I think organizations lack quite a lot. They can be ruled in this authoritarian style of, I want this done now and do it my way. And what that does is it just loses the ability for people to innovate, really. So psychological safety would be one. And I don't think that's something that can be built overnight. That's got to be like demonstrated by senior leadership and, acting on feedback, making changes, just really creating a space where people feel like they can show up as themselves and share ideas and fail, without fear of anything happening to them as a result. The other thing I would say is equity built into systems. So we talk a lot about gender parity, or, it might be diversity parity, like more broadly, which I also, although I focus on gender, there's loads of other things like ethnic diversity that I'm very passionate about and want to see a change. But it's, how do we build that into the system? So it's not a few people or a few groups within the organization that are trying to make the change. It's actually written into like policy, governance and structure. And I really think that's the only way that things are going to massively change. The third thing, just broadly, is human-centric leadership. Like, we're all individuals. None of us are the same. So you don't have to treat us the same. And equality is about fairness. It's not everybody getting exactly the same at the same time. So really, how do we understand the people that we work with and our colleagues on an individual level so we can help bring the best out of everybody? Because that then results in, better performance. Obviously, it's a nice thing to do, but it results in better performance, better innovation, and that whole feeling of like loving what you do.
Thank you. But don't you think that sometimes when leaders add more human centric values in the system, people start taking them for granted? I mean, they just come and assume, or maybe they take you like maybe they are very soft, they are weak, or maybe they start putting the labels on you. Have you experienced anything like that?
Yeah, so I think for me, there's a performance management issue there. And I'm not saying you let people get away with whatever. Like, you can't have that. You need to have like a high performance culture. If it's sales, like a high performance sales culture, but balanced with the right behaviors. So it's the two go together. You can't have one without the other. It's not like just
Right.
we all come together and sing like Kumbaya, and that's okay because everybody's really happy. And I actually don't think people are happy in that situation. I think people are happy when they are like performing well. When you're like, sales is an obvious one, but when you're like ringing the bell, but you're really serving your customers' needs, internal from like a colleague perspective and external. So I think you'll always get like people like that, like when you hear about companies that offer unlimited annual leave, less so in this country, but there are other like markets and companies across the world where, you're allowed to take as much holiday as you want. And the stats show that actually people tend to take less in that environment because they love what they do and they trust the organization and they don't want to let their colleagues down. You'll always get a few people in that, but that can be addressed through performance management. And that is something that leaders need to be confident in delivering and managing properly.
Okay, that's a great advice. So let's talk about burnout. And why is it romanticized in high achieving environments? And how do we challenge that without sacrificing ambitions?
Yeah, it's really sad, really, isn't it? We talk a lot about hustle culture.
Yeah.
And that really being like where we want to get to and where we want to be known for. But the reality is like productivity and efficiency goes down so much when you're like eking on burnout and, you're not taking time for yourself or even exercising and looking after that like mind, body and soul. That 360 piece is so, so important. And for me, honestly, it wasn't until I really stepped out of it that I realized like how bad I was in it. And I don't want other people to get to that stage where, you have to have this like near death experience before you're like, oh no, like now I need to start looking after myself, like health is important. And so, yeah, I think actually you can do more in less time. And you probably I'd love to hear your perspective in a second perhaps, but around being an entrepreneur, it's not the hours that you put in.
Yeah.
It's the like what you do in those hours.
Absolutely.
Whereas when I worked in corporate, we had meeting for meeting's sake, we wouldn't achieve anything. It's like not outcomes focused.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I think there should be a perfect balance between that mental well-being and mental resilience. You need both.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I always used to say to people in the office that like, if I was leaving at 6 p.m. and there's people still sat there, I'd be like, what are you what are you actually doing? And then when they walk me through it, I'd be like, that's not a priority. That's not important. And the reality is some people are conditioned, and certain cultures as well are conditioned to like sit and wait for the boss to leave or, just work long hours thinking but all that happens then is people give you more. You become the go-to of like stuff that people don't necessarily want to do, or they give things to you because you're going to get it done. But at what cost? And that's where like boundaries are so important, particularly when it comes to burnout. Like how are you protecting yourself? Like, because you can't take on everything and it's not your role. Your role is in your like job description, probably not written that well, but to deliver and max out on that, not everything else, and get yourself into a burnout stage.
Absolutely. I mean, why to reach to that stage?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not necessary that if it is 9 to 5, you have to stick to 9 to 5. Finish the things, go home, enjoy your personal life. But if you're dragging the same thing, of course, you have to put some hours during the weekends or maybe because that is a target. That is a task which you have to achieve.
Yeah, exactly. And there's ebbs and flows, right?
Absolutely.
I'm not saying like you have like leave at 5. It's sometimes you have an important project and sometimes you work until midnight.
Yeah.
But then when you don't, get the time back, rest, like take a day in lieu, ask for it if you've worked those hours. Like it's completely unreasonable for you to be working till midnight. And it's so important to look after yourself because without your health, you literally have nothing.
So true. So, what do you say to the companies who treat equity as a box ticking initiative instead of a performance driver?
Yeah, so this is a interesting one, and there's two things, but like leaving talent on the table, clearly, but also leaving money on the table is like the biggest thing. And I'm always surprised at how little people know about the value of diversity. So it's not just a nice to have, like, of course it's nice to have like 50-50 representation of men and women like throughout the organization, particularly at the top, because that drives the culture and therefore you would get more like women coming through the ranks because they're role models, etc. But really, ultimately, it's about profitability as well. So companies in the top 25% for gender diversity outperform the lower quartiles. Like, I think it's by like, companies in the top 25%, I always forget this stat. Companies in the top quarter outperform the lower quarter by 25%. And that increases with ethnic diversity by 36% from a profitability standpoint. So the figures are, and that's backed up, it's McKinsey release amazing research on this every year, but it's backed up by reviewing thousands of companies over decades. So it's really incredible. So I just like lay the business case out. I think the challenge that we have in leaders and corporates taking this on is they're predominantly male-led, and for them to take it on, it disrupts the status quo for which they benefit from, so whether it's intentionally or not, there's a fine line between like allyship and potentially like putting their roles at risk. That said, there's amazing men doing amazing things for this in this space, and it's all about allyship. So I never do the them and us. I think like men they're going to be the catalyst for the change that we need because there's not enough of us at the top.
That's true.
To drive that. So yeah, so I say like leaving money on the table and talent on the table.
That's true. Okay. So how can leadership development move from performative to truly transformative, especially for women and underrepresented leaders?
Yeah, so I think at the moment we're a bit sick of telling us like what we need to do, like we're okay actually. I feel like we're ready to go. We've been doing the work and working on ourselves since forever. I mean, you work with like hundreds of women as well, and most women have like a coach or like mentors, or they're on some kind of program within like the organization. They've got a therapist. I feel like we're constantly doing the work. And for me, the majority of the change will come from within. So there's the policy and the structure stuff that we've already talked about. And of course, as part of GAIA, we lobby for that change. But the second part, and the bit that it is in control, is just like how we show up authentically. And for me, this is creating space for women to share in a really vulnerable and growth mindset facilitated way. So at GAIA, the biggest transformation, I mean, even last night we were discussing public speaking, senior women, director level plus. We're all sat there discussing public speaking and how like challenging that can be. One lady in particular was not looking forward to a big presentation that she's got to do, which is perfectly normal. And just sitting there and talking to other women, us all sharing our experiences, by the end of it, she was like, this is an absolute game changer because I can't believe you've ever felt like this, and it's just normalized it and given like some tips and things that we can all share. But really, it's like removing that competition. And you can do this like in-house within organizations, but really creating spaces where people feel safe. and genuine opportunities, So if you're committed to enhancing gender parity throughout the organization, then create opportunities.
Right.
Like make it fair game. Don't just talk about all this stuff and then not have anything to offer. Like don't
That's true.
put us through all this additional training that I'm not sure we need, but then there's nothing at the end of it. So yeah, I think kind of just more genuine, like authentic spaces for women to connect really is the game changer for me.
Okay. So, Marisa, I want to know one thing. What's that one belief which you had to let go about yourself in order to truly rise?
Yeah, I think strangely for me, I've always there's been for me, it's like you can do it by yourself. You can do it by yourself. So the belief was that I need others to help me, which the others had naturally been men because I'd worked in male-centric organizations
Right.
and I'd have generally always had like male bosses. And even when I left my former employer and I started my own business, I sort of attached to like other male consultants and we would do projects together or like whatever. And actually, I think the universe was trying to show me something, but I just wasn't listening. Like, you can do it, like get myself into difficult situations. But but now I am doing it by myself. And obviously I have a team and stuff now, but I started something. It's just that self-belief, like
Absolutely.
you can do anything you want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we've been so conditioned to like be quiet, be a good girl, get on with it, keep your head down, like, don't start a conflict, when actually all of these things are so normal. It's like, so it's been breaking free of that good girl model and really just going for it.
No, I think you are absolutely right. So, it's all about belief, it's all about mindset. I think I personally believe that human is the best creation by God,
Yeah.
and he has given us all the power. It's
Yeah.
up to us, like we want to limit ourselves, that I want to reach here or want to grow somewhere, go somewhere else. That's entirely on us.
Exactly. We were born to be free. You're born to have an opinion. Like, look at kids. That's like the way, I mean, it's very exaggerated way that we're meant to be, but that is the kind of freedom that we should strive for to express, like, as we become adults, and if you have a voice, like, use it. Stand up for what's right. Don't stay quiet. Like, don't do stuff because other people want you to do it. Do it because you want to do it.
You want to do it. Absolutely. That's so true. So, okay. So, if your younger self saw you today, what do you think she would say? And what would you say to her?
I think she'd probably say, like, wow, I can't believe you left that big corporate career. Like, you worked so hard for such a long period of time and were so close to the very top. Why would you or maybe she wouldn't ask why, because I feel like she'd be like, yeah, you go. Like, but I don't think she said, why did it take so long? But I think she'd be like surprised at that. And I try and look back on, and my response is, I try and look back on that period of my life with love, because I did enjoy it. And it has shaped everything that I do today, like the commercial acumen and the managing through so many complex stakeholders and transformations and everything that was required has made this feel like amazing. Like, it's difficult and it's a graft, but so I would say to her, like, follow your intuition more, because I wish I'd done this sooner, even though I don't know if it would have been as successful if I'd have done it sooner. I do feel like I will tell Paloma, my daughter, that if you follow your passion, everything else will follow.
Yeah.
Like, if you're into dance, I don't think she will be, because I'm the worst dancer ever, but like, if you're into dance, go and dance. Like, make that your thing. And you might think it has a shelf life of 10 years whilst you're like younger or whatever, but then you can go on to open a dance school if you want. You can do, like, just do what you're passionate about, and other people will be inspired and follow. Don't do what you think society norms want you to do.
No, absolutely. I think Do what you feel like doing. I mean, like, what is for you, what is meant for you is very important. To
Yeah.
understand that is very important. Perfect. So, for the women listening who feel like they are at the breaking point or transition, what's one piece of advice you would leave them with today?
Can I do two bits? The first one is like speak to somebody, like whoever, trusted friend, therapist, coach, whoever, just get it out. Because I think when you have stuff inside of you, it manifests and can, like I said,
Right.
show up as like stress. But the other thing is just do it. Like if you're thinking about it, the universe probably wants you to do it. And that's why. And there will be like ups and downs, but Rome wasn't built in a day. But it did start somewhere.
Right.
So I think just do it. Like whatever it is, just do it. If it's a side hustle, if you need the money, you know, like, and you concentrate on it as a side hustle, get something going before you fully quit, or whatever it is. Could be anything, right? It might be like something like starting a family, but not thinking like you've got the time or whatever. Like everything just fits into place once you go for it. And the universe has a plan for you. And I think if you're like thinking about it, it's probably the right plan.
Oh, I think I can connect myself very well with this piece
Yeah.
of advice, because when I left my job, the first thought which came to my mind is that just do it. We'll
Yep.
see. Whatever will happen, we don't know what is going to happen. No experience, nothing like that. But just trust, leap of faith, and
Yeah, you've got to. You've got to.
okay. So, is there any piece of advice which you would like to give to the females, to the people, those who are watching it? Any sort of advice for them?
Stop saying yes, start saying no. So really, like time and time again, the stuff that we talk about in Gaia, or like the root cause of stuff, is boundaries and, you know, doing things that you don't really want to do to please other people. Just stop that.
Right.
I think people are fine actually with you saying no. I think sometimes we build these things up in our head, but actually when you say no and you start practicing it, it just becomes so much easier. And then people just expect that of you. So
Yeah.
that goes for me, both personal and professional. You know, if there's stuff in your personal life that you do because you feel like you have to for some reason, just stop. And I think men are so much better at that. So my husband will I'll sometimes say, oh, I'm doing this, but I don't really feel like it. And he's like, well, you don't feel like it. Why are you doing that? It's so like ingrained in us to say yes and to like make things comfortable for everybody else. You know, so I would say like really look at like what you want to start saying no to and create time for you.
We always think about others, how they will feel, what they will feel if we'll say no or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's a thing.
We're naturally so empathetic. It's like
Yeah.
in our blood and our DNA. So, but that's not that healthy to just absorb everybody else's feelings. Like, you know, they're their own, they can make their own choices. You got to look after yourself first. And then you can support others.
Perfect. So thank you so much. It was a lovely talking to you, and we really got a great insights. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I look forward to listening to the other guests as well. So
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.